Hello, everybody. We are live. It is Wednesday, lunchtime, my time. It might be a replay for you. But yeah, say hello in the chat. Let us know that you're dropping in. And for today, I want to introduce myself. My name is Melanie Richmond. For those of you that don't know me, I am the founder and CEO of True North Wellbeing Coaching, where we're passionate about helping mindful professionals that want to reach their dream life, their dream jobs, their dream anything that they want without the burnout so that they can feel more joy in life. So I'm really happy to be here. You're going to be with me in conversation for the next 15 to 20 minutes where we're talking about how self-observation leads to mental clarity. But before we jump in, I just want to say a couple announcements. I do have a retreat coming up at the end of June for those that are in Western Canada or want to make the fly. We do have a few spots available, so reach out to me so I can send you the details on that retreat. It's June 24th to 26th. The other exciting thing that's happening is at the end of May, I'm offering a free 2-day workshop where you get to come and learn all about well-being and how does that look like for you in your life right now. So what's your well-being score and how can we improve it? So if you want some details on that, reach out and I'll also be sending out some information. Okay, so thanks for saying hi, everyone. And we're talking about mental clarity today. So I thought we'd start off there. So what does that mean? So I think most of us have had this happen in our day where we walk to the kitchen or we walk to, a spot in the office after we've stopped working and we're like, what on earth? Why did I walk over here? What was I looking for? What did I want to grab? So that's a perfect example where you have a little bit of a brain fart and you don't know why you're standing where you are and you don't know what you're looking for. And it's quite frustrating, happens to all of us. And it's that moment where we have lack of mental clarity. So mental clarity, it's a state of mind where your mind is fully active and engaged. And that's an optimal state to be in, to be productive, to be engaged, and to really be at a peak performance at work and in your life. You're not always going to be there, and that's why we're here to talk about what we can do to improve our mental clarity and how it starts with self-observation. So some other items about mental clarity. So it really brings on that sharp memory. So not all of us have the best memory. Like I have an extremely amazing visual memory, whereas my husband can remember movies and things like that, whereas I can't because my brain just doesn't remember that, but I'll have like a very visual memory of trips and things I've seen. Some people might have an amazing memory for things that they've read or heard. So whatever that unique ability of yours is having that sharp memory and being able to, tap into it. Other items that show that you have strong mental clarity is you're quick to think. So, hey, something comes up, you aren't stumbling a long time before responding. And then the other item is you have unclouded judgment. So, you're not letting your own biases, you're more receptive, you're more open to information and seeing what they're coming from or what's presenting itself in front of you and how you can process it before making a reaction. So we all have ups and down in life. So there's times where, we're running at a high and, we're doing great. And there's other times where, we're going through something difficult like grief, or, we're lacking sleep because we have a newborn at home, or we're going through a really difficult time just because we all came out of this pandemic. And a lot of us lacked mental clarity during the pandemic because a lot of our routines were gone and we lost a lot of the structure in our day. But now we're re-implementing it. There's some things that we learned from the pandemic, such as slowing down, that really helped with mental clarity. So there's been some benefits there. So we'll touch on that a little bit more. As humans, I would say our mental clarity is not our default state. So that's something that you have to be very intentional about. Similar to working out, you have to work out that mental muscle. And it's not something that's as intuitive as, pumping some iron in order to build muscle. Your mental capacity really comes from various aspects of how you're living your life and what behaviors you're doing. So that's where the self-observation piece comes in. If we aren't paying attention to ourselves and what we're doing and letting the stressors of life and the worries of life take that on in our body and in our mind, well, that prevents us from performing at an optimal level. It affects our brain function. So if we have the worries, the stresses, then we're allowing it to affect us. It's going to affect how we think, how we behave. And learning how to increase your mental clarity without burnout, that's another thing that's huge, is you want to make sure that when you're looking at improving something in your life, that you're doing it on your terms, on your journey, at your pace that makes sense. So other things that we want to talk about for mental clarity is, let's say you're having issues where you can't focus, you're physically or mentally exhausted, you've lost interest or motivation in what you're doing, and you might even have some memory loss. So if any of those things come up, which I think all of us have experienced it at some point in our life, like I remember when I was having a hard time with work and had some major health concerns because I was burnt out. I wasn't engaged in what I was doing. I wanted to leave the engineering field on certain days. And it really had to do with my behavior. At that time, I was so focused on working all the time. I was working a lot and not prioritizing some other behaviors, such as taking care of my body, my environment, and whatnot. So I wasn't first off looking at self-observation as to what's actually happening around me holistically, a 360 look. And then I just allowed myself to burn out. And that's where I really lost focus. I had physical, mental exhaustion. I always felt tired. And I lost a lot of motivation in the work I was doing, and also experienced a lot of mental loss, so memory loss. So if that has happened to you, it's kind of a wake-up call to say, hey, I'm experiencing 2 out of these 4 symptoms, or I'm experiencing all of these symptoms. Like, I have to change my behavior. Something has to change in my life so that I can be in an optimal mental state. So what are the 3 biggest causes of why you wouldn't have mental clarity? The first one is sleep. Sleep is the foundation to so many things in our life. It's the foundation to really having a well-lived life. So look at your sleep. Are you having troubles falling asleep? Are you having trouble staying asleep? Is the duration of the sleep sufficient for what you need? And if you're waking up tired every morning, it's an indicator that something has to change there. So there's awesome sleep consultants out there, or if you want, you can always send me a message and we can chat about your situation a little bit. The other component why you won't have as much mental clarity is stress, anxiety. So that was one that I had experienced 5-6 years ago when I was working a lot and I was extremely stressed with my work, and I had high levels of cortisol in my blood, which caused some major circulation issue where I talked about previously, where I had black fingers, white toes, black toes. and it really affected me. I even had some hair loss at another time. So circulation of the body is massive for mental clarity because your blood is your lifeline and it delivers oxygen to every aspect of your body. If you're lacking circulation at your extremes. So that includes your head. So that means that your brain is getting less oxygen for it to do its job. So let's reduce our cortisol levels. Let's reduce our stressors and how we process the stress cycle. And then the other item is nutrition. So the food we eat is like medicine. It's what gives us energy or lacks thereof our energy. So fuel your body with things that are nourishing, that give you energy. Otherwise, it's also tied in the same way with our mental and physical. So if we're physically exhausted, it often results in mental exhaustion. If we're mentally exhausted from work, it also results in physical exhaustion. So those energy levels are really tied close together. So make sure you give yourself proper rest and change those behaviors into good habits that are sustainable without you burning out and feeling too pressured, so that you can enjoy life better, be more focused, be more intentional and engaged in what you do. I'm going to have a little sip of coffee. Actually, it's decaf coffee. I dropped the caffeine in January and it's been really good. I still like the taste of coffee, but decaf does the trip. Excuse me. So some of the results that you might see at work from increased mental clarity is if you're lacking that mental clarity, you might have a really hard time actually sitting down and doing your work. So that means you're trying to focus and you just can't. You can't focus on the task at hand. Your thoughts are elsewhere. You just can't seem to process information to get that productivity up. The second thing that you might experience if you're lacking mental clarity is you might feel extremely isolated, which can lead to depression and, just mental suffering. So when you're lacking energy, mental, physical, you're less likely to really show up in front of people, and you're less likely to reach out to friends to connect. So you kind of slowly isolate yourself out of connections, which is really tough on humans because we thrive off connections. That's what we're meant to do. Okay, so now that we've really got deep into mental clarity and that optimal state of being and how it influences productivity and engagement, what are some factors that you've seen in your life that might be an indicator that you need to work on this? So how do we work all around it? So you said, I had mentioned the first step is self-observation. So self-observation is literally what it means. Self-observation. So looking at the self. So if you are, a little version of yourself and you're standing bird's eye view of your life and you're seeing, okay, I'm waking up this morning. Yeah, I've pressed snooze 5 times. I'm really struggling to get out. Bam, that's an indicator. My sleep is something's up with my sleep. I need to look into that and try different things and see what works so that I'm waking up with no snooze of the alarm, or I'm waking up without an alarm. And that person that's above you, that self-observation, also looks how you are being. So are you stressed throughout the day? Do you feel like you haven't taken a full breath? And you're kind of running at a really high speed? Or are you, not being yourself? You're reacting to certain triggers or certain things that people are saying, and that's not who you want to be. So those are all self-observation items to look at. The other one is looking at, is there anything going on in our body? Because our body is a blueprint of what's happening in our life. So I mentioned to you, I had hair loss due to high levels of stress. So I was working too much. So I had to change that aspect of my behavior, working so much, so that I could allow my hair to grow back and actually be in a good state physically, mentally, and emotionally. And that was a few years back. And I have some photos of what happened to my hair, which I had to hide in certain ways when I did my hair. But it felt it was really tough. I think it's very tough as a female to have hair loss, especially at such a young age, and know that it's due to stress and that you've put that on yourself. And you know what? That's okay. It's okay. I'm where I am today because of it. And it made me so much stronger to recognize, to have that wake up call, like you need to listen to what your body is saying and change what you're doing. So if anybody's struggling, look at what's happening in your body. It's such a good indicator as to where you need to change your behavior in your life and your lifestyle. So the last thing, which is the biggest thing with self-observation, is mindfulness. And that's why I say I love people that are driven, but I love people that are mindful. They're mindful of their choices in life. They're mindful of who and what they include in their environment, because what you surround yourself with will have a massive impact on how you are in that environment. So if you're in a bowl of fruits and all the fruit around you are rotten, eventually you're going to rot. If you're in a bowl of fruit with all different colors, types, and they're all, doing really well, then you'll do well with them. Until, my toddler goes and eats them all. Anybody else have a toddler that is a little bear and just wants to eat all the fruit in the house? Drop a yes or no in the comments. Okay. So we're getting towards the end here of our live show. So the last thing I'm going to say about self-observation, it's really having to do with our behaviors and what's happening in our body, our mind, what thoughts we're choosing. And work life, or I like to say better, life work, because our life is not, we're not living to work. We're living, and then work becomes a part of our life. And I think the pandemic has really shifted that in industry to showcase that we can work, in different ways so that it fits our life. So having that life work integration where we have a healthy amount of, hey, we're being productive, we're getting shit done, and we're also having, that life experience where we're really having fun, we're connecting with others, we're doing things we love. Because if we were always on vacation, being lazy, relaxing, we kind of feel unfulfilled. Whereas if we're always working all the time and we have all this money, but we don't have any time to enjoy it, that's not fun either, or nobody to enjoy it with if you want kids, a life partner. So really integrating the two and having a healthy amount of each. So I think that's it for today. If anybody wants to learn more about self-observation and get a better audit on how you are doing, please come to my 2-day workshop. Again, that is May 30th and May 31st. It will be at lunchtime, so 12 MST, and we will be using Google Meets. So you're going to need a link to get in. So send me a message and I'll get you in. All right, everybody, have a great rest of your week. I am off to New Brunswick on Friday for a family vacation out in Eastern Canada so that my son can meet my grandma. So I will not be doing a live next Wednesday, but I'll be back after the May long weekend. So you'll probably see some snippets of me, hopefully on the beach. Hopefully it's warm. Hopefully we don't get snow. Who knows in Canada on May long? Hey, what's going to happen? And last but not least, let's go Oilers. We need a big win tomorrow. Okay, bye guys.